Hey guys, we are back here with Miles Coffee, and we were just talking about if LeBron went to the Warriors, the impact that would have in the NBA. So I was just saying how I don't know how much I could be a Warrior fan if he went over there. I do respect LeBron's legacy and greatness, and I'm not denying the fact that we would probably win another title or two under him. And I would still personally like Steph. I mean, Steph's my favorite player in the league. I'd still be a huge Steph fan, but I just could not see myself supporting that. I'd probably end up being, I mean, the Celtics are my second favorite team, so I'd probably root for them. I'm not a huge Kings fan. I'm just not. So I'd probably go like root for the Celtics. But I mean, I don't even know how much of the NBA I could watch because like it's not even fun at that point. Like you were just saying, like literally, it's a guaranteed title for the Warriors. There's no reason to watch it at all. Well, at least now, I mean, yeah, KD is over the Warriors, and it makes it a lot easier on us in terms come postseason. But I mean, the Rockets are a great team. Thunder have been playing a lot better recently. They could definitely do some damage in the playoffs. Celtics have been playing great. They could definitely do some damage. So I mean, there's still teams there who can contend with the Warriors, and you don't know necessarily what's going to happen. But that would just put it over the edge for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is it is somewhat sports related, but reality, it's actually a lot more serious. So there's, as I covered last week with the Larry Nassar case, so he got up to 175 years in prison, which is, we agreed to last week. So one thing interesting about Nassar is he was at Michigan State for a while. And this last week, there has been a lot of stuff about Michigan State in terms of sexual assault and harassment. So the first thing I want to touch on before I get to the big story is this. So NCAA President Mark Emmert reportedly knew of 37 reports of sexual assault against Michigan State University in 2010 and did nothing about it. Just hours after ESPN's report on Michigan State implicated Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo, a new report from The Athletic brought forth a new name to the discussion. NCAA President Mark Emmert was reportedly alerted to 37 reports involving Michigan State athletes sexually assaulting women. Emmert reportedly met with Kathy Redmond, the founder of the National Coalition Against Violent Athletes. Emmert allegedly received a letter from Redmond that detailed allegations about MSU athletes sexually assaulting women. This is a quote that was told by Redmond. Mark Emmert was brand new, and he'd initially said one sexual assault is one too many. As soon as I heard that, I thought I might have an ally. Now, he obviously didn't do much about it, and it goes into talking about a few other things as well when it comes to that. So obviously that shows you that there's a part of a system right there when it comes to the athletic department at Michigan State and the NCAA in general that's just broken, period. It's just broken. Into the actual story I wanted to talk about here. So this came out, this came out 2 days ago. So Michigan State critic faces allegation of inappropriate relationship from former student. Just days after the chairman of Michigan State University's athletic council resigned to protest the institution's handling of its sexual abuse scandal, a former student filed a complaint alleging the professor drew her into an inappropriate relationship more than 20 years ago. Let's see. So Ellen Fedden-Kate, if I'm pronouncing that right, I'll probably butcher that name, now a psychologist in Dearborn, Michigan, emailed members of the Athletic Council Saturday saying she was about 19 years old and an undergraduate student at Wayne State University when Sue Carter, who was at one time her professor, befriended her and manipulated her into a sexual relationship that felt wrong and distorted. And then it says two members of the Michigan State Athletic Council, Secretary Scott Westerman, Executive Director of the Alumni Association, and Professor Martin Chimp, confirmed that the complaint was forwarded to the university's Office of Institutional Equity. It said that in her letter, the council at the time of the relationship was in the midst of trauma. So basically nothing got done about that. So this is just one case. I mean, there's other universities where we've seen crap happen like this before, is like Baylor and Penn State and other places and stuff like that. There's a big conversation this week if Michigan State athletics should receive the death penalty, and what that means if they should basically be put on temporary hold of not allowing there to be any athletics at Michigan State. Now, I'll say what I think about on that in a second here, but I wanted to go ahead and get your thoughts on this whole scandal that's going on, Miles, with the whole sexual assault at Michigan State. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think Michigan State athletics should receive the death penalty? Just what is your thoughts on the whole situation as a whole?
It's obviously horribly disgusting what Nassar and all that did, and it's disgusting that people inside the athletics department covered it up or kind of looked the other way. I did see an article I was looking today of a time where it was something along the lines of a girl was bringing up a lawsuit or charges against somebody on maybe the football team or something, and the prosecutors were trying to get all the details released, and the Michigan State actually brought up a lawsuit to keep that quiet and keep all the details under wraps because it would look bad on them, whatever. But either way, they were trying to cover their tracks or look the other way, let whatever happen. Should they receive the death penalty? I think that's kind of a strong thing to talk about with athletics, but I think they should, because they obviously have a major problem that needs to get sorted out with future student athletes that could go pro in their respective sports. So I think they have some serious infrastructure to look at in their athletics department before they should be allowed to do anything to do with athletics.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the most part there. It's obviously terrible everything that's going on here, and to get to a bigger issue overall, there are many things when it comes to modern day feminism that I disagree with, and personally, I think that 1 in 5, when they say 1 in 5 women who are in college get sexually assaulted or harassed, I think that's a load of bullcrap, personally. However, this whole crap with Michigan State specifically has opened my eyes a little bit that this is a lot more serious of an issue than we once thought. And we've seen that obviously with a bunch of other cases that have been going on. With all of that being said, in terms of the death penalty with the athletic department, I could understand that in terms of the council and the people who work with the athletic department with being complicit when it comes to these crimes, literal crimes. However, with the people who are actually playing sports at the college, and I'm sure a lot of this still goes on with athletes. However, it peaked in 2010. We saw it in the beginning when the coach got there in 2007, 2008. It's still going on. I'm not denying that. But it's not happening nearly at the level that it was before. And the thing is, I don't think these athletes now should have to pay for something that athletes did 7 or 8 years ago. And the thing is, it's just not fair, because these kids were in grade school when this stuff happened and it broke at Michigan State. Now it's obviously being reported now. And like I said, I'm sure that there are still some athletes who do commit sexual assault and violence, and that's wrong, and that should be handled on a case-by-case basis. But that's the whole thing. It should be handled on a case-by-case basis. And I don't think it's fair, because if you're saying death penalty to the athletic department, you're not just saying the men's athletics. There's a lot of women's sports there as well. And personally, I don't agree with that. I think that you do need a whole new administration and leadership in there in terms of the athletic department. That'll clean stuff up. But I don't know if giving them the death penalty solves anything. I could understand the argument for it, for sure. I'm not denying that. I just think that it's not necessarily being blown out of proportion. I just don't think that the solution proposed by a lot of people is going to actually solve anything. That's just my thought on it.
Yeah, I feel that, but at the same time, there's got to be a statement made about this. If they were even complicit in the slightest, you can't let them get off on that at all. And I'm not saying that you're not saying there shouldn't be consequences, but right. I think they should make an example out of this, that if you want to look the other way, if you want to do anything to cover up this criminal acts that are going on, that you're going to have to face some serious consequences. And I get that it affects the student athletes now, but you have to send a message that this shit ain't okay.
Right. No, I 100% feel that there, and I understand. I think I think that you do need to send some sort of message. I just think overall, when it comes to these cases that happen anywhere, regardless if it's a college campus or anywhere, it should be handled more on a case-by-case basis. What I do like about the Michigan State thing, and obviously what happened to all these women is terrible, but what I like is finally what we are seeing with this is we are finally seeing some due process in terms of sexual assault allegations, because usually it's just the allegation and it doesn't get reported on any specifics. With the outside the line report by ESPN, it literally talked about experiences these women have had and stuff like that. So you actually got to feel a bit more of a personal experience of what these people went through, and it makes you feel a bit more sympathetic to these people, because when you just have blanket allegations, you don't know what the heck it was. It could be something as just as simple as a joke to something that is actually really serious. And that's the problem. We actually need to see what's going on so that the people can understand how serious of a situation it really is. And with the Michigan State thing, I think we are seeing that, and we are seeing a system that is broken. So if you want to put them on a temporary death penalty, I am fine with that. But I just think that at the same time, you are going to have some people there who are going to suffer because of the actions of others. And anytime that happens, I just feel so bad for those people.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat what you just said a little bit?
No. The last thing I just said there is basically I was just saying that I think that there should be temporary death penalty. I just hate the fact that other people have to pay for others' actions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a kind of a sacrifice of war, I want to say, as a kind of metaphor. Yeah. But
I mean, life in general, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for the athletes that happens, but I mean, they wouldn't be put in that situation if they would have at least had some sort of protocol in this once they found out about it.
Right. Yeah, okay, so I overall agree with you for the most part there, and it's just an awful situation in general. It just sucks to see there be that bad of systems out there when it comes to handling it, because if you look at most college campuses today, what they always talk about is consent, everything when it comes to like trying to prevent these, and it doesn't solve anything. Like, it just doesn't. So my question to you on a bigger level, when there are these cases of actual sexual harassment and assault and it's proven, how do we actually limit this shit? Can you limit it? What do you think is a good system to set up overall to try to limit this epidemic?
As in, like, law or like reform?
I'm not necessarily saying law. I'm just saying like that the school can set up themselves, or just overall like the school. What do you think the schools can do better?
I like the idea of those little call boxes they put in the parking lots and whatnot. But as far as like teaching, they could definitely, I think they could give a lot more education on how everything works at a younger level, so that way there's a better understanding. And I mean, most of the people that commit this sexual assault is something a little fucked up in their head. So I think if it was a little bit better taught as adolescents, it would there might be a little better effect of just respect for one another's body and whatnot. But I don't know really how a school could intervene with that. It's kind of, right. I don't know the preventative measures that you can teach somebody to just stop that.
Well, I overall pretty much agree with you there. And actually what I think should happen, you were mentioning teaching it at a younger level. I 100% agree with that. So what I'm thinking is what should happen is in driver's ed and health classes in high school, it should be there. They should do it there. That's where they should, I think, teach this more, or actually explain this situation and what actually is consent and stuff like that. Because that's stuff that most parents are supposed to teach, and sadly, I don't think that does get taught as much today. I think it comes down to just personal judgment when it comes to later on in life. And I think that if you do want to try to solve it, I think that you could implement it in driver's ed and health classes in high school.
Yeah, I mean, it is introduced now, but it's not taught at a extensive level. It's kind of, you go over it for a couple class periods and you're done. There's no real content to it at all. I think if they looked at how driver's ed and health was taught and the curriculum based around it, I think they could come up with a better way of teaching it.
Right. All right, cool. That's the end of part 2, guys. We're going to get part 3 going for you guys here momentarily.